Week 10 felt like the league drawing a line in the sand. The top teams did not just win, they made it loud. Big margins, big runs, and a couple games that turned sideways fast. And then in Rochester, we've got the moment everyone's going to argue about all week. Rylan Hartley gets ejected on an illegal body check, and the entire game changes right there. So today, we're breaking down Week 10 with the key stats. We're talking about that ejection. Then we're looking ahead at what the rest of the schedule means, team by team, and going into Week 11. Let's get right into it. Welcome back. My name is Jake McDonald. I am Anything Lacrosse, and this is the game that never sits still. Right away, leave a comment to let me know what you guys want to see in these episodes, and go follow the socials, smash that subscribe button, and go join the Discord. There's lots of great conversation that goes on in there. So we've got a packed episode today. Full disclosure, already recorded this episode, and the mic was muted the whole time, or didn't work anyway, so I am re-recording this, or I'm having to do this again. So I'm going to kind of speed things up a little bit than I normally did. Everything's still going to be going super deep. So right away, we got a big interview today with Levi Touhey. He is a back-to-back he's gone to back-to-back Minto Cups. He has been in a Founders Cup, drafted by Halifax this past draft, he was drafted by Halifax, and he's going to be a big young piece, going to play for Poco again this season, Borco Clitlam out in BC to try to finally grasp that Minto Cup that he's chasing. And I am rooting for him. That team's going to be absolutely stacked. It's that's going to be a team to watch this year for sure in junior there in the West Coast. So we got him coming on. We'll get into that. Before that, I will run through the quick scores for you guys. Interview will come back with a Week 10 deep dive into going through each and every game. I will run through every game. Like I said, that's the part that I'm going to cut down just slightly this episode because I've already gone through. I'll just go in and I'll run through attendance and I'll just run through real quick everything, but I'm not going to go super in depth. I'm just going to pick. We'll talk about it when we get there. Anyway, then I want to go through every team's remaining schedule with you guys. This is something that I am going to do again because I think it's important, and it's also I think that there's a lot of teams right now that are looking maybe good, that have a hard schedule, and then coming up there's going to be a bumpy ride for the end, and then you have other teams that are kind of lower, but they have maybe an easier schedule coming through. So we'll see what happens, and we'll go through it. And I'm going to give you guys currently right now. I'll kind of give you a rundown on who I think is going to make the playoffs and all that kind of jazz. And then after that, I'll do my awards. I'll probably do the awards before this. We'll go through the standings and the top players in the league as well. And then I will finally just do a prediction for next week. So I'm going to be running through this. We've got a big interview with Levi coming up, like I mentioned as well. And it's going to be that alone is just such a great interview. I can't wait for you guys to hear that. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Mr. Rylan Hartley hit. That was uncalled for, that hit. I will say that. So that play specifically made no sense to me. The hit, I don't like the hit because the player's not expecting is obviously illegal, and I don't think goalies should be actively going out when a player is on a breakaway like that and all of a sudden he turns into a wall. I just don't think that's great. I think that's causing unnecessary injuries, and I'm all for big hits. I'm all for big clean hits, big fights, all that stuff. I don't think that was called for. That should have never happened. That was a stupid-ass play. The other thing was, it was a tie game, 1-1, very early in the game. I think super, super early. I'm not saying that Rochester would have beat Vancouver that game, but I am saying that to do that at a 1-1 game, when it's such a massive game for you as a team, is a stupid ass play. So right away, it's dangerous play, and I didn't like it personally. I mean, again, it's a big hit, and so what the thing I will say is that, once it's out there, I'm hoping that it can maybe catch somebody's attention and then get them to come watch the game. That's just as a positive look. I don't even really hope that's what we don't really want fans that are just coming over for these massive hits, I guess, but there is lots of them in this game, don't get me wrong, but we want, it's part of the sport, but also the main sport is obviously to score the goals and all that stuff. So I'm all for the physical play, but I just don't like when goalies come out like that. And I'm big on goalie safety too. I think if it's in the crease, it's always the goalies, should be protected in the crease, but he ran out there. Now I will say the first angle I seen was very, very bad. It looked really bad. I seen another angle earlier today, and when I was looking at it, it didn't look as bad from the one angle. So I personally think that Hartley should get suspended for that. I think it should be 3 games from the one angle. The second angle, I will say, if they only gave him one game for that second angle that I seen, I wouldn't be super mad. Unfortunately, that's not the one that was really going around so much that everybody did see. And I do understand kind of where some Rochester fans were coming from. But, I've seen some bad comparisons to this. And we have to hold everybody at the same standard. I don't care what team you're on or what player you are, if you're a favorite player or a not favorite player. I personally I'm going to hold everybody the same standard. And I also think that everybody else should do the same thing. Like, I don't, it's either a good play or a bad play. Put the jersey or the player X in there, and it doesn't matter who it is. It should just be like, that's a good play, that's a bad play. There's obviously biases, and there's some plays that are more gray than others. This, to me, wasn't one of those plays. It's pretty blatant. It's a dangerous play, and I think that for player safety, you need to make an example of Hartley. And if they give him 3 games, I wouldn't even argue that. So, and I've been even hearing maybe 5. Now, I thought when I originally said 3, I thought that I was being a little even harsh, but I do think that we need to make an example of it. 3 games in the NLL is a massive, massive amount. And you got to think 5 games is like over a quarter of the season. So that's massive. Now, that's up to, what do you guys think personally? You guys leave that in the comments. Like I said, my opinion is 3 games. So Jake Elliott had some very strong words on this during the broadcast of the Vancouver game. Like, Jake Elliott had some very strong comments. Especially once he's seen everything was getting spread around, saying some people, basically saying that, he put on one of my comments, like, he expects better of the lacrosse media. I didn't personally share this clip. And this was basically due to Jake. I just was like, yeah, you know what? You are right in a sense. But at the same time, since it's already getting out there, you got to kind of talk about it, right? So and that's the thing. I don't personally think anybody sharing it was like, especially in the lacrosse media, I don't think that they were intentionally like trying to glorify this hit. I think everybody can come to terms and agree that this was like a not right hit, except for maybe some Rochester fans that I've heard trying to like kind of defend it and trying to deflect onto another play. I don't like doing that. I hate deflection. Like, I think that you should, instead of being like, oh, this guy did this, so this is okay. No. If you have to justify something, then it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't make it any better. So I think that with that being said, I think that Rylan Hartley should at least get some sort of suspension for that, for sure. And like I said, I've heard 1, 3, 5 games, something like that. So we'll see what happens there, and we'll have to just wait and see. But that's my opinion on it. And I think that at the end of the day, once it's out there, though, I will say that if it catches the eye, because that clip did make TSN, and so that's the thing. That's, Hartley, that's 2 clips on TSN that really made TSN this year that went big, and both are Ryan Hartley doing things that some would say are over the line. So, and I'm not saying this one's a bit different than the last one, obviously, but some people didn't like the last one either. I personally did. I think the fight was fine. I think it was a great way to kind of get everything, like get exposure to the league, and especially he did that to, kind of with respect for the guys that came out that bought the team and that came out. So I made sense of that one, but this one was just uncalled for, especially when it happened in the game, a big game. Now, and Ryan Hartley, like the Rochester Nighthawks just don't play the same when he's not in the back of the net. I don't know what it is, but when Hartley's there, they play better. It's not even just Hartley being gone; it's also the effect Hartley has from being gone. So anyway, that's just my take on the whole situation. Bad hit, and I hope we don't see any of the more of those again, because I don't like that. I didn't like that hit. It's a big hit. Like, now looking back at it, like, if I go watch it, it's like, wow, that's a massive freaking hit. But it's just like, at the end of the day, it's a rough play for sure. I think, anyway. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. I don't think I've really seen anybody glorifying it, except for, like, obviously, like, it getting thrown on TSN, that it's technically glorifying it, and just the amount of shares and stuff. But that's just going to happen. That happens in every sport when something like this happens. And it's, it is what it is. This was a beautiful quote. Oh, this is from the Salmon Bellies. So this is the Salmon Bellies. Shout out to Salmon Bellies. They follow me. Let's go. So this is what it says. So, lacrosse is a brotherhood. Our opponent today can be our teammate tomorrow. We hit hard, but aim not to injure. We play with character. We show respect for one another and for the creator every time we play. This matters more than the score of the rule book. I love that. This is why I personally love the native culture. I've been lucky enough to be more involved than I think the average person is. And I just love, like, I'm not a super religious guy. I love you. If you're religious, great, perfect. Believe what you want, all that stuff. I have friends from every different religion. Personally, I consider myself more spiritual. I'm very, like, just be a good person and good things will happen, or like, be a good person and, like, it'll all just work itself out. That's my mentality towards it. And I think I love the native culture, because it's all like, give back, only use what you need. Don't you overuse, be respectful of the land, all this stuff. And, like, the creator is, like, my nephew. I always shout out to my nephew to hear. My nephew explained this to me really well. It's like, when you're out there, you're playing for your elders, to entertain your elders. It's not for them. It's to entertain the elders that were before you and all the people that were before you. So I love the mindset in that, and the Salmon Bellies quote is perfect for a situation like this, and I love it. So I just wanted to mention that. So yeah, let's go. Everybody, love this sport, love this game, and it's amazing. And most guys, to be honest with you, in all fairness, are very much like, what happens on the floor stays on the floor, and it's once they're off, they could sit and have a conversation, no problem with each other, which is what I like. even when I talk about chirping, I do talk about it in good fun, and I do think it's just like more like kind of hype towards a league. It's not. You're never going to get this league where two guys actually hate each other and are playing against each other to an extent, right? You might be right, like you might be combatants, but it's never going to get to that level where you're going to take it off the field. I think anyway. I'm sure there's going to be a strange random case here and there, but overall, it's not an issue. Okay, anyway, okay, topic 2 I want to talk about before we get right into the episode here is post-game press conferences. Now, I have heard some teams are doing this. Some media don't show up, I guess. I guess like it's just kind of a weird thing. Like, this is all content that could be for NLL Plus, okay? Put it on NLL Plus. We need to, like, every team needs to get under this. If you want to become a next major league, you have to act like one. What does every major league have in common? They do post-game press conferences. Like, would you have loved to sit there and talk to a coach? Obviously, maybe not Hartley, like, right, because he got ejected, and maybe not bring him out there, or maybe you do, who knows, but have the head coach, mandatory head coach there after every game, and then bring 2 or 3 of the guys that really had a really good game. Media's going to want to talk to. I think it'd be great. I think that would be such good hype for this league, and it would help us keep moving towards that major league. Because this is the thing, guys. The stuff I bring up, I just want to I'm just seeing blind spots, and I want to try to get it out there. So if I say it, hopefully somebody else has been thinking it, and it gets out there. Sometimes I do feel like I kind of criticize the league too much, but then I'm like, it's not that I'm saying the league's not doing good when I say all this. I'm just thinking that what I see is little blind spots that they're missing, that maybe it's an easy fix. Like, that's an easy fix, right? Because I would go down to Halifax for a media pass and go do it. Don't pay me. I'll go to every home game. There's 9 a year. I'll drive down to every home game, and I'll just, for a media pass, I'll sit there and ask them questions, if that's the case. Like, if you can't get anybody in Halifax, and I'm sure there's guys or people in every city that would do that, if you would let, if that was an actual opportunity. I remember last year, this is another good example of this kind of, that we're kind of ties in. I remember last year, I messaged Toronto, like, okay, where's it? Because I'm a new fan at this point, right? I've been watching for half a season or whatever, and I'm craving lacrosse content because unfortunately I only got half the season. I only got from February on. So I'm craving the lacrosse content, and I'm like, okay, cool. So where's like, can I come to the draft? Like, is there a draft? They're like, oh, we don't do in-person draft. You don't do in-person drafts. Like, are you kidding me? Like, get the fucking first rounders there at least, or at least a bunch of top level guys. At least a couple of the top level guys. Like, this is again a selling the sport thing. So I just think that there's blind spots that they see, or they're just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Somebody tell me. Is it a budgetary issue? Is it like, what's the issue with this stuff? Like, I don't get it. I just don't. Even if you can't fly all the guys in, have them on a fucking Skype, ready to talk to do a little interview with them. How do you feel about being drafted by the team? You don't have to do anything more than the first round, because at the end of the day, most people, that's all they care about, right? Even if you look at like NHL or NFL draft, most people just was like, you'll get the hard fans watching the later drafts like I do, because I'm, a crazy person, but you won't get, like, you're not going to get the casual fan, but you'll get like more of like a casual fan wanting to know the top 5 picks, especially if they're going to be, the next superstars of the league. So it's just, that's another thing. I guess like this is a two for now. So, but going back to post-game press conferences, I think are a must-needed thing. And I know some teams do it. Some teams do it sometimes. Some teams don't do it at all. Some teams don't make players available. Some teams media doesn't show up. Like, it's a bunch of different stuff that I'm hearing. So you guys let me know what you think, and let me know if you guys think that post-game press conferences are great, and throw them in NL Plus, because I would watch it. I will watch it. If I can guarantee you that. If I'm not interviewing the people, I will be the one. I will watch it. So if there's fans like me, like I'm a fan, if I'm one guy that's saying this, there has to be more people that are like me. And this is the thing. That's just my thing, right? We need to get our heads wrapped around trying to become, the slogan is the next major league. Okay, let's start acting like it. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I love the league. I think they do a lot of good things. I want to stress that again, because I feel like I'm always like complaining about the league, and I don't mean it to come off like that. I mean it to be, it's all from love. I think the NLL has done a great job in a lot of aspects. I just don't think that they're quite there yet. And I'll be the first one to say that, because unfortunately the NLL fans do not have a voice in this thing, because there's not enough of them online throwing stuff at the league, getting on there, telling them how they feel. I will be that voice for people. If you agree with me, great. If you don't, fine. That's fine. Maybe I'm in the wrong here, but I just think that post-game press conferences would be an amazing thing to watch. 10, 15, 20 minutes max. Like, it doesn't have to be a massive thing. Come answer 3 to 5 questions and be done. You know what I mean? Hey, boom. It doesn't have to be a massive thing. Come out, and it's part of it, right? And as media, we better be prepared to ask the really important, really good questions, because you're only going to probably get a few. But it would be nice. Even worse comes to worse, you don't want to let any of the players, have the head coach come out and do it. Please, something. Anyway, that's just my rant there, guys. Like, 2 couple topics I like to talk about. I always like to start the episode like that. Starting off right away, I'm just gonna run through his scores quick. We got Saskatchewan going 14-8. We got Saskatchewan beating Calgary 14-8. San Diego beating Philly 13-7. Georgia beating Halifax 11-7. Las Vegas beating Oshawa 16-13. Toronto beating Ottawa 17-10. Higgins has got to be way better. Colorado, Rochester, 16-6. And I mean, this was perfect because I think this is karma. They were at a 1-1 game. Hartley went out, and then they just took over. And I think that this was karma. You can't make these hits dirty like that, guys. That's crazy. So anyway, yeah. So now we're gonna get right into the interview. So we have an interview today with Levi Touhey. He is drafted by Halifax in the 2025 draft, 59th overall, defender out of Surrey, BC. He's been on the big stages already, played in back-to-back Minto Cup finals, first with Port Coquitlam in 2024 and then in Orangeville in 2025. And he also played in the Founders Cup in 2023 as well. Guy has a stacked resume, absolutely amazing defender. One of the next generations of defenders here. Halifax has him. What a great, they're lucky to get this guy's path, what those championship runs taught him, the jump on the pro level, the jump to the pro level, and what he's focused on next. So without further ado, let's get right into the interview. On today's episode, we have a very high-level player in Levi Touhey, officially an NLLer. Hasn't played a game yet, but he's going to get there. So welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you for having me on here.
You know, your resume is crazy. Like, I was looking over some of the stuff, and so right shot defenseman from Surrey, BC, drafted 59th overall, 4th round by the Halifax Thunderbirds. I'm in Moncton. I'm not sure if you know where that is, but that's about 2 hours away from Halifax there, so it's a close team to...
Oh, right on.
You played junior for the Port Coquitlam Saints, as well as you've played in the 2023 Founders Cup. You've also played in the 2024 and 2025 Minto Cup, moved around between New Westminster, Junior Salmon Bellies for a while, and then moved over to the Orangeville Northmen in 2025, going to the finals there. So, man, that's quite the resume. So just starting off, give me a rundown on, kind of how you started in lacrosse and all that stuff.
So actually, I was a big hockey guy, pretty much my whole beginning, kind of my sports thing, really big into hockey. I grew up in Alberta too a little bit. So predominantly all hockey where I was living, and I came to BC, and originally I'm from BC, moved to Alberta, came back. Then, I was living here in Surrey playing in Cloverdale, playing hockey for the minor club. And my dad had a friend that he worked with at work, and they took me out to a Coquitlam Adnax game. And I remember being 10 years old. And I was just absolutely blown away. Seeing guys hit each other when they didn't have the ball. And I was just what is going on? I was I got to play this. This is a no-brainer. I told my dad, I was sign me up, and played that summer and was going to go back to hockey, and then ended up, just really falling in love with the game. And I put the skates up, and I just went right in the field lacrosse. Didn't last too long, but yeah, I ended up just going full board with lacrosse.
So did you make that decision at 10 years old to decide to stop playing hockey?
Yeah, basically. Well, a little bit. Yeah. I was a decently high level hockey player. And, at that time, my parents were we don't know if you can do rep next year. And this was when I had already played the summer lacrosse, so I played hockey through the winter, some rep hockey, and then really into hockey, and, played box lacrosse with the summer with a bunch of guys that I also played hockey with. And, my parents were oh, we don't know if you'll be able to kind of get on that team next year. And, I was well, why not just play lacrosse? We got to do that. And, now I'm here, and that's where I went, and I don't regret it for a minute.
No, that's awesome, man. I mean, you can kind of speak on this a little bit better than me, but I find, and I'm not saying by any means that to get to a pro level or even that high level lacrosse or high level sport is easy, but do you think it's a little bit of an easier path to go than trying to go pro hockey, because it's just so political and everything in Canada for hockey,
yeah,
as you would probably know?
I would say yes and no a little bit. Obviously it's very hard to, get to the NHL, and honestly it's even hard to get to the WHL. There's a lot more, I'd say, just hockey players, I'd say in general, maybe. And, I mean, it's not just a bad thing. I know a lot of guys that, growing up, played hockey, played lacrosse, went back to hockey, and then they kind of, left lacrosse, and, I was kind of oh, okay, but, I'd say the process is a little bit different in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find that the opportunity in lacrosse is growing as well?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely,
when you started out?
Yeah, I think it's definitely getting more and more popular. At work, the guys are always asking me questions about lacrosse and stuff. And I think it's definitely growing, and I think it's on a good trajectory, but I think it could be improved. I think there could be a lot more, lacrosse, going around, and more kind of promotion to it, to kind of the youth and stuff, especially here.
So if you had to if you had to pick something what even the NLL could do, or even, just in general, how we can market this sport, is there something you're seeing a missing link that these leagues aren't doing that they could maybe be doing?
I think, not really. I think, Travis and, my coaches, they do a school program. So they go into schools and, they teach lacrosse to like a class, elementary school class. So I think like that's a really good start, kind of getting it in. But you don't really see that, with hockey. They're kind of on this bigger kind of platform where it's kind of like you kind of like see it everywhere in like advertisements. You go downtown Vancouver and stuff, or even like around here, you'll see some like Canuck signs or whatnot, and I think that could be a little bit different, just like, the logos and, just like, you see hockey teams everywhere, kind of wherever you go, at a bar or, you go sport check, you see all hockey apparel, team apparels or whatever. But you don't really see much like Warriors kind of stuff, right? Like I can't go to the
No,
mall.
absolutely.
I can't go to the mall and, get a Warriors hat from Lids. I haven't really seen that yet. And I think we could definitely get there and stuff, or like even going to the Lids and seeing a Halifax hat and whatnot.
Yeah, so that's definitely licensing deals and stuff, and
Yeah.
I've been pretty vocal on that myself too. I think we need to get one core licensing deal because I had actually, funny enough, I went to the opener this year for Halifax, and I brought a friend of mine that was not a lacrosse fan, and he on the way home he was trying to order stuff and couldn't even order stuff to his house because
Yeah.
he's
Right.
like that, right? So I definitely agree with you. We have to get down to that kind of one marketing where things can be sold in Lids and even just like a Walmart and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think even like location, like I think like, I grew up watching the Stealth, all the time, like as soon as I started playing lacrosse. So I like living in Cloverdale, we're pretty close to Langley Event Center, the old Stealth home arena. Wasn't that far of a drive for me to go, but I think it's definitely like by teams going to, I think, bigger arenas is definitely, or in more condensed places, I think is really good. There's a lot of people I see at Warriors games that, like aren't even lacrosse fans, but they're, it's an event in Vancouver. And, I think that in itself is, getting it awareness and stuff. And, every time I talk to someone about lacrosse who, knows nothing about the sport, they're like, oh, the Warriors, and stuff, but I think that's kind of just like, a local type of thing, slowly kind of getting there.
I love to hear that though, because that's kind of how it starts. It's like a
Yeah.
little fire burning and then it just explodes,
Yeah.
right? And I know that the Warriors the other week just had 10,000 plus fans in that building. Like the sport's growing when you look at the numbers. And I mean, it's the product. Like even when I watch guys like you, it's just the things you guys are doing compared to things guys were doing like
Exactly.
15, even 10 years ago is just completely different.
Yeah. And I think even like some sports, not to like talk down on other sports too, but I think even like the entertainment, even of lacrosse, once people could like, get a more understanding of the game, just a regular kind of guy. And I think a lot of people could like tune in that way.
I'm on the same page as you. I think it's just exposure. I think it's
Yeah.
just seeing it because how I became a fan actually was last year during the All-Star break, the hockey All-Star break. There was nothing on. Buffalo and Toronto played. I turned that game on, and if you go watch that game specifically, that had everything a lacrosse, anything a sports fan would want. So
Yeah.
I got hooked off that, and then it's just been
Yeah.
it's been like this since then. So it is a great sport, and coming as a hockey fan, I think that's the easiest kind of fan base to try to pull in.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Fans and hockey fans are very like similar in itself, or they're like the same people. There's tons of people that are going to Canucks games and then going to the Warriors games.
So much like hockey that it's easy to transition over and watch. And even if you don't understand all the rules right away, I find it's easy enough to pick up, at least in box anyway. So
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about BC here. Like, what was it like kind of growing up in that area of Coquitlam? And, what's it like there to live there? Because I know it's such a hot, like a lacrosse hotbed.
Yeah. So actually, I'm not from Poco. I'm not Poco born and raised. I'm actually from Surrey. BC has been known to be a little bit rougher sometimes, and the lacrosse community here wasn't always the strongest. We didn't always have numbers, but I think the numbers have changed in the recent years, because like when I was growing up playing Surrey minor, like we kind of had like 3 teams every year, and I think COVID took a really big impact on that. The most like predominant sport here is a lot of basketball. Like I played a lot of basketball through high school from a high school team, and I don't think like Surrey, like lacrosse in Surrey isn't as well, I'd say, like advertised in a sense. Like it's not like not many people in Surrey know about it. And there's actually, it's like Surrey's a really big place, so there's actually like 2 teams. There's actually 2 minor associations for box lacrosse in Surrey. That's like how big it is. And
Wow. Okay.
so, you have like White Rock, which is like down by the border, the beach and stuff. So they have their own, the Semiamu, they have their own minor association. And then the rest of Surrey is like Surrey Rebels. And so that's what I played. So it was kind of like you played all over Surrey. So, I could have a practice, say, in Cloverdale, 10 minutes away. Perfect. Or I'd have to go to like inner city Surrey and, go to a practice out there and stuff, because it was everyone from all over. That was the rest of it. White Rock guys had their own kind of thing going on.
So what do you find like a place like Surrey then compared to Coquitlam or like a New West? Because you played in some massive markets.
Oh, yeah.
And even Orangeville, like you played in like the biggest, basically junior markets you can play in.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So between Surrey and a place like those places, or even with all those places, kind of what's the experience like playing for those guys?
It's, it's phenomenal. Like when I got drafted from Surrey to Poco, it was like, it was pretty unbelievable. I was pretty excited, pretty amped up, ready to go. And, you look at like New West, Orangeville, and even Poco, a lot of like, I think the thing with the lacrosse culture in those places is like, and a lot of other places too, is like, players give back a lot. You don't really see that in Surrey. at least me growing up, like I didn't like there was a couple guys that maybe came back, but it wasn't, kind of it was mainly like a dad coaching us. I mean, he was great. He was awesome. I was actually Mills's dad, legendary coach for the minor days when we played together. Because Mills is actually a Surrey guy too as well.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, originally Surrey guy, and then I joke with him all the time. I call him a traitor because he went to Ridge. But you look at kind of like those kind of programs, and I think it's just a lot more like community involvement, and Surrey kind of just doesn't really have that. I think yeah, I'm pretty sure last year they actually like folded and had to merge with Delta. So it's kind of a crazy thing to see now. It's I would love to like go back and coach them. Eventually that's kind of what my plan is. See if I can coach some guys. And yeah, it's lacrosse has kind of fallen off in Surrey over the recent years.
All right, man. Well, I hope you can get there because I mean, it's great always to see somebody that kind of comes from your area and moves on and goes to that next level. So it's good that you're kind of doing that with Coquitlam, like especially the Saints and the Adnax. Like
Yeah,
there's like quite the rivalry there. What's the rivalry like in that? And do you really like? Is it kind of
but it's
that next level when you're playing that team?
But yeah, it definitely is. Like I mean, we're both Coquitlam teams. It's kind of like what I like to call it is like the Battle of Coquitlam. Like who's going to get it tonight, and we're always amped up to play them. Like it's the Adanax, so it's we like to prepare and get ready as the Saints, and I'd say the rivalry, yeah, it's a little bit there. I mean, I have a couple buddies on the Adanax, but when we're playing, it's I don't know you kind of thing anymore, and I'm trying to win.
No, absolutely, and you definitely want bragging rights against your buddies.
Yeah,
That's for
exactly.
sure.
I mean,
For
we
the
don't
next,
really,
whatever.
we don't see each other outside the floor, a lot of time, but if it's in passing, you definitely say what's up and stuff. They're definitely a respectable organization. I mean, you can see what they've done in the past 2 years. And I think, like the main thing for these programs is just like the support and just like giving like players coming back and coaching, whether it's, well, you're 20 or you played for the Saints and you come back when you're 30. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the involvement kind of never ends. It's kind of like a cycle that just continues.
Yeah, it's like you're kind of like a family that once you're part of it, you're always
Yeah,
gonna be kind of part of it, kind of deal.
it's like, yeah, the main thing we're trying to do with the Saints too right now. I mean, we've done it a couple of times, but like, like me and the veteran guys kind of like try and coach a U8 team or a U9 team. And then, as they progress, we still coach them all the way up into that, kind of junior thing and already teaching them junior skills at a minor age. And, you can kind of just like running through drills. And then you realize once you get to that junior level from minor, you're like, oh, these are the same drills that we kind of did when we were 10, just at a more intense pace.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you find like how big of a jump is it to go from, minor lacrosse to junior, and what kind of things do you have to change about yourself or even about your game to make that next jump?
I think definitely you gotta have your stick in your hand as like a minor kid. If you really want to pursue junior and kind of get to that junior A level and stay there consistently, being in the gym and kind of getting an early jump on it, you don't have to go I'd say full start, just boom boom boom, burn yourself out. But as long as you kind of get a feel for it early a little bit and see and make that decision, and then you start that kind of incline. It doesn't have to be a steep one, but it's definitely you gotta, like my dad always says to me, he says to me all the time, your trajectory has to be at a decent pace up. He's like, you can't go too far. Your trajectory can't be, I don't know. It's kind of a weird saying, but it makes sense in my head. I think minor kids, there's a lot to, be offered out there, and coaches are always watching, and they're watching too in minor, they're always watching. So, I think definitely getting in the gym early would be a big one. Size does matter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny. I'm a massage therapist. That's my day job. And I always tell my clients just, you kind of want to go out the first day and kind of push yourself. And then I always tell people do about 80% for
Yeah,
about a week or two and then try to push yourself again.
of course.
And that way you safely build yourself up, without hurting yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I think, there's a lot of like kids coming up too through the minor system, even some Surrey kids too, actually. We had a little Poco combine thing. And, there's actually quite a number of like Surrey guys who were out there, which I was like shocked to see, but they had originally, I think, merged with some other teams for their last years of minor. But yeah, like we had the Poco combine. So I was out there seeing the kids, and, there's some talented kids. I didn't really get all their names and stuff. I was kind of just out there, shooting around, I hadn't seen Mills in a while, so really catching up with him. But there is definitely some decent talent coming up this year, and it's going to be cool to watch.
When you're coaching a team and you're trying to put these teams together of these, like, let's say U13, U15 guys, even U11 if you want to go that young, what are you looking for? Like U11 is a little bit young maybe, but U13, U15, like what are you looking for players to make those top end teams?
Yeah, you probably heard it before, but like, what I would look for is be like, how can you make someone better? You know what I mean? Like, how can you, create an opportunity for your teammate to score a goal, or, what are you going to sacrifice, to like, make the play, that's something that I kind of look at, and just, stick skills, definitely, even like me, it's even said to me, all the time. Stick skills can always be improved. Not that I have the greatest silky hands. I'm a D guy, so we're known for having stone hands. But it's I think, yeah, just like stick skills and just being able to create plays. Kind of, it doesn't have to be a extraordinary play, but it's just got to be how can you create plays and allow success for the guy you're playing next to. That's what I would look at for a young guy. And I know it's a little deep, but I think you want to look at young kids who can kind of create plays early on.
It's funny you say it like that because that's how every high level player I talk to, they say the same thing. It's like and you said at the beginning, but it's true, right? Like you want to try to make your teammates better.
Yeah,
If your guy, but you're only as strong as your weakest link as a team,
yeah,
right? So
exactly.
if you can make everyone else better, it's great.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So are there a couple drills that you would recommend people kids trying to really work on specifically that would kind of give them the edge?
I'd definitely say quick stick wall ball. Definitely like reaction time, see if, what I used to do when I was younger. Cause I didn't, it took me a while to get to where I was at, a lot of, and I still don't want to be where I'm at. I think I can, you can always be better, but, like wall ball is definitely like your best friend. Like that is, just shooting the ball, 100 left. I don't even use my left, but, I just like to throw it left and then throw it right. Like shooting on a net's great. Don't get me wrong. You have targets and stuff, but I remember when I was like elementary school, like, I would stay there for like hours and hours on end. Even throughout like high school, I would stay, hours on end. I find that was like I would recommend that. Just like basic kind of stuff, just going through, just movements and really focusing on, okay, how am I like turning the ball? How am I releasing it? What is my wrist doing? Where's my feet? Kind of looking at all those type of things.
Do you find as such a high level player when you watch a lacrosse game, you're looking at the small things, or are you just trying to enjoy the game as itself?
Kind of depends on like, what the game is, I mean, honestly, I think to default, like I always am like looking for little things. Like if I'm watching honestly any lacrosse, I might not be looking where the ball is, but I'm looking at I always tend to find myself looking at what's going on, the play, like the off ball play, I'm seeing what's going on there. That's what I tend to look for and see if guys are doing sneaky little things.
Literally, because even when I went to watch the Halifax game live, the opener, I was watching Tyson Bell on a few different plays without just kind of focused on him, and the way he controls the floor out there
Yeah.
really kind
Oh
of,
yeah.
really impressed me on how he controls everybody and make sure everybody's in their spot, as well as still continuing to play his game and make sure he's in his own right spot as well.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a great player, man. Yeah. I got to know him a little bit when I was at that camp and yeah, really, really cool guy. Really fun guy.
Yeah, he's a funny guy for sure. Give me a kind of a rundown on what your weekly schedule looks like, because obviously you're working, but you're obviously still driving towards to become that full-time lacrosse player. So what does your weekly schedule, training schedule look like
So
week on?
like, yeah, basically weekly, I work Monday to Friday, 7 to 3 o'clock. Either I was doing that I still am doing that, but now I'm at a different, closer site now. I'm in New West, but when I first started, I was in Richmond, Vancouver. And then, so yeah, I go to work, come home, kind of go to the gym on like Tuesday and a Wednesday sometimes. Kind of do it every other day. Kind of have my little breaks in between there. We do a team lift on Fridays, and then I have my own kind of training guy that I go with, and we go on Thursdays usually. And then yeah, kind of do that. And when it's a peak lacrosse season, it's still full time work and practice on Wednesday or a game, and then play Friday, and then go to the island or have the island teams come here on the weekend.
We're moving towards, I think, lacrosse players becoming full-time. We're definitely not there yet, but we're moving towards it. But do you see within your time frame you becoming a full-time NLL player or even just full-time lacrosse, whether that means you're playing in like senior A and then or a PLL kind of situation on top of the NLL?
Yeah, I'd really hope so. I mean, honestly, I can't really see it right now. I think it's that's the only thing we've known is kind of, lacrosse guys, yeah, play pro lacrosse on the weekends and, they work their regular jobs during the week. I mean, that's kind of, I think, just always been a thing, but I really hope within my lifetime, you can become a full-time lacrosse player. I mean, there's already a couple, I'd say, that, play NLL and then they go play PLL, but I don't really, that wouldn't be my situation. I don't play field lacrosse anymore. So I do have to work, I do want to get my ticket. I do think like if the NLL and, more people can start knowing about lacrosse and get more exposure, I think that could allow the opportunities to, become there and become, like in the same kind of realm as, like the NBA, MLB, NHL, all that kind of in that conversation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I'm hoping towards too. And I always look at this as like, I find the NLL is kind of at like the late phase moment in hockey, where it's like we've got a big expansion, I think, going to be coming. And as viewership goes up and they can get these teams more, where all teams are making money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I hope to see that as time goes on, because I think that's just going to elevate the sport so much more
Oh,
as well, right?
100%. Yeah. 100%.
And like, what do you think about guys like living in market? Like, do you think we're going to be moving towards, players being more open to living in market? Or do you think that that's something that kind of brings that extra, advantage to the NLL where a lot of guys live out of market and get to just kind of travel in every time they play.
I mean, I think, yeah, that's I think that opportunity is nice, to fly in and fly out, but, it can be a lot. I did it for camp for like 3 days and, work on Monday. I was like, "Well," I was just in Toronto yesterday and, now I'm on site. A little bit wild, but I think living in market, yeah, I think that's definitely like, a good thing. I think if a team can set you up, kind of, support you a little bit, maybe finding you a job or, helping you just find a house or whatever it may be. I think living in market is definitely, I mean, it makes sense to live where, you're practicing or wherever you're playing. You know what I mean? You could be there for, team events or, PRs or, whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, are you eligible for one more year junior or are you done junior now?
I'm eligible for one more year junior, so I'm going to be finishing off with the Saints hopefully this spring.
Okay, so you guys are going to be a scary team with all that talent over
I
there.
hope so.
Okay, so I mean, you guys have been to or like a Minto already, and like last year you went again. You kind of break that down for me, kind of just being in that environment back to back years, and getting so close, and just kind of motivation to give you more. Like kind of break down
Yeah, like
that whole time frame for me.
it's pretty surreal. Like since I played junior, my first year of junior, we actually I went out to with TPC for Niagara Summer Games too. So that's also one thing I like to add to my resume is that gold medal with NBC. So that was first year junior, and then it was Founders, then it was Minto Cup in Coquitlam, and then it was Minto Cup in Orangeville. And I think I've been very fortunate to be on a lot of these teams and a lot of these experiences, and the environments are just unbelievable. Some of the moments that I'll remember for the rest of my life. It's pretty. Yeah, I still like can't believe that it's honestly like been like that. 2 Minto Cups back to back. I think I've really had a privilege. People allow me to go there and give me these opportunities. Super, super fortunate for it. It's a lot. Like a Minto Cup. That's a full week. That's a grind. Living in a hotel. I experienced that with Orangeville, but when it was home here, we had the luxury of staying at houses and stuff. That was a really good experience in itself. The first Minto Cup was being a part of that. I was insane. It was wild. And still, even the one with Orangeville, it was unbelievable too. The way they set it up. But I think the way that they're doing Minto Cups, it's kind of getting better and better every year. You're in the championship. You know what I mean? You're in the final. There's a grind though. It takes a lot. It takes everything you got. I've come up short in both those years. And I was thinking about it the other day, like in Coquitlam, 2024. We were we came in third there, and then I was in Orangeville, and we ended up losing it, and that we came in second place, and I'm hoping that those two right there, that motivation. I'm a little superstitious, but I'm hoping that I'll be I'll be that last team when as I came third and then second, and then now I hope this year with all our talent and the Saints, hoping that we'll be on top there at first.
Yeah, man. I watched I watched my first Minto last year, and like I was so impressed with your team. Like specifically Trey Deer, man, he stood out to me so hard because it was just I would watch him get double team, triple teamed, and he was getting out of there making plays happen. Like you guys were right there. It's such a special
Yeah.
place to play. Out of the three kind of places you played in 2025, there were huge markets. Where would you say kind of was your favorite place to play, the most electrifying place, and just kind of did they all just have a different feel, or is it just kind of they're all just massive markets?
Yeah, they're definitely all massive markets. Obviously my favorite place to play is Poco. It's the team that drafted me. It's the team, I've been with for a long time. Probably one of the most electric places to play though is definitely, Orangeville at Tony Rose. I've never felt anything like that. The community there is like super strong and, just awesome, awesome community for lacrosse.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, that would be a special place to play. There's been so many, professional guys and big names that have come out of there. Is there anybody in your career so far, coach, player, just somebody special that's involved in the game that's really, you look to that's helped you develop your game?
I'd probably definitely say Travis Cornwall. I think he kind of has like my best insights, or my best interests, to him. And whenever I kind of have a lacrosse kind of related question, he's kind of the guy I turn to. And he's a really good coach. I enjoy playing for him. He's kind of just that guy that I kind of just I've always turned to since knowing him.
Is there anything you're taking that you learned from last year back to Poco to try to go bring home that Minto Cup this year?
Definitely want to try and take back, from the East, their, the way they do things, how the teams, like, as Orangeville, when I got to experience that out there, they were, very tight knit group, and the coach would put out there in the message, oh, like, yoga tonight, but it's not mandatory. But, you'd see, the entire team would show up. It's kind of like little things like that I think that I want to try and bring back to the Poco team this year. And, I think it's the little things that really do count.
Is it kind of like a not mandatory but voluntold kind of thing?
Yeah, a little bit, not really, but It's like,
Okay,
I think
okay.
you see, a bunch of guys respond, that they're all going, it's kind of like you don't want to be the odd guy out that's not going unless you have a legit reason. But
Is there a player that you really base your game around, or even somebody you really enjoy watching, whether that's at a pro level, even somebody in that, senior men's league?
I definitely really have he's caught my eyes, kind of a Tarafanko. I really like his style of game and the way he's just, he doesn't have like an off switch. So, I kind of want to figure out if I can kind of get like that, or he's a pretty good player, really fast player, and good guy in general, and fast in transition. So I want to try and be like that eventually.
Yeah, definitely. He's a great piece for Halifax. Now, let's speaking of Halifax, you got drafted there last year. Just kind of walk me through that process. Like, how does the draft process go for the NLL? Is it kind of just you're going about your day and you pick up the phone when it calls, or are you sitting there kind of waiting around? You kind of had an idea you were going to be drafted, or was it surprising?
Yeah, so like I said, like Travis was the kind of guy I turned to. So I was kind of talking with him and saying, hey, I was kind of thinking of maybe put my name in, because when I was originally back out in Orangeville, dudes had asked me, he said, are you going in the draft this year? And then, I was kind of like, oh, okay. I wasn't really like thinking about it at that time, kind of thing. Honestly, I didn't really know how it even worked too at that times. I talked to Travis a little bit. He got me in contact with someone who could get me into I guess, get my name in. And yeah, I kind of just went from there. And, I knew I was like, obviously, the day that the draft was taking place, I didn't know even if I was going to be picked, but I just, had a couple of buddies come over. I was like, oh, let's watch the draft. Let's see what happens. And I know I had like a couple interests in me before the draft. So a couple of teams reached out, but, there's still this thought in my head, what if what if I just don't get picked? There's a lot of talent out there, definitely, and I think these next few drafts will be pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean, these next two are supposed to be really, really special. Even that 2025 one, from what I looked over, it's like nobody in that top, the first real round, 2 rounds, you have to have box experience to
Yeah.
really get drafted there, unless you're an absolute, you know, legend in college, like lacrosse, essentially. Do you find, is that something that was weighted on you, like looking ahead at the 2026, 2027 draft to get in there now so you could try to break in there before, another younger group of guys came up? Or is that something you just kind of, it just felt right in the moment that this was your year?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. I think too, yeah, a little bit right in the moment. I just came off with 2 mid-toes. I thought I kind of might have had a little bit of a shot there. And also just, yeah, like, like we said, like the next two draft classes are supposed to be, pretty packed with guys. So, I thought, last year, it would be a good year to put my name in.
Now, run me down how this exactly works. When the Halifax drafts you, they retain your rights, but how long does that last exactly? And is there anything that you gain from being drafted, like other than just, you're part of the organization, but are you like you're invited to training camps, you're invited to different camps? Is there any, I know that this is probably a far fetched, but is there any kind of signing bonus or anything like that? Or is it just you get paid once you play and you make the team and make the roster kind of deal?
Yeah, I think it's more of what you just said there. Like you get paid once you make the roster. I'm still kind of figuring out how it works too with everything. But yeah, so like I'm on the holdout list essentially. I think you can see that on the website there. So they retain my rights, so I'll go back there for camp next year, and then do my attempt to make the active roster spot hopefully, or practice roster.
Now, how much is Halifax involved in like your off season stuff, or when, are they involved at all, or is it just kind of go do your thing and then we'll see you at camp next year?
Yeah, a little bit. I've had a little bit of contact with them, but I'm still in their emails with the film and stuff. So I'm still keeping up with the film that Mike's cutting or Suits is cutting, and also like I still have the app for like the team workouts and stuff. So I'm still like involved kind of in that way, but that's kind of what I'm doing right now, is just kind of sticking with the workouts they have given.
And for like representation, I know you had somebody that was obviously kind of guiding you, but in other sports, you see these kids get representation. Like I have a friend that my a good friend of mine, his kid plays goalie, and he's like a U14 goalie, and he's already got representation now by somebody, another player that went through. He played in the QMJHL here. So is that something that's happening in lacrosse, or we're not quite there yet?
I think a little bit, not really. I don't think we're quite there. Maybe, like, I mean, like, yeah, I do have like kind of Travis there, but I don't really, it doesn't really feel like he's like, representing me, in a sense, I guess, in the way you just described.
Yeah, like you're still talking and kind of scheduling yourself camps. It's not him going in and making your, like,
Yeah.
setting things up for you and saying, hey, you're showing up here. It's still you kind of actively
Yeah.
going
Like
to.
it's me. Yeah. Like communicating with people and stuff like myself, I prefer it that way. I think it shows, initiative, shows character. I mean, it's great to have representation, right? Yeah. But yeah, I think, maybe we'll see more of it. It would be a good thing.
Now, Halifax is this year especially, there's kind of the narrative going around that they're a dirty team. I don't look at them like that. I find they play on the edge. They play on the line. They play a native style lacrosse.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's just like a rough, tough game. Like, what's your opinion on them? Like, playing against a team like that, is that something that you guys as players consider dirty, or is it just something that you know that you're going to go in and play an aggressive team that wants to win and it's going to be hard to play against?
You know, in my opinion, I mean, everyone kind of has their own opinions about it, but in my opinion, you know, I kind of just think that's I don't find them as a dirty team, you know, like when, you know, I was, you know, doing the camp and, you know, playing with them, you know, it's not like guys were giving me axe chops or whatnot, or, you know, getting me in the face. I mean, obviously it's the team camp and, you know, they compete hard, but, you know, I definitely do agree with what you're saying. Like they compete on the edge and, you know, like, you know, they want to win, they're hungry, and it's, you know, definitely a rough style. And, you know, you know, I wouldn't say that they were dirty at all. You know, I wouldn't say that, you know, we are dirty or they are dirty. Like at camp, you know, it was, you know, you didn't see any of that.
Now, do you find there's certain plays that go on? I'm not going to sit here and call anybody out specifically, but there's certain plays that go on throughout the year. And do you find guys are out there intentionally trying to hurt anybody? And, you know, it's obviously few and far between, even if this is happening. But do you find there's any players that are out there trying to do that? Or is it just kind of very fast play and things just kind of happen?
You know, I think it's like a bit of both. You know, like teams have their kind of guys that, you know, will stick up for other players that, you know, if something happens, you know, type of stuff. But, you know, I think once you get to this higher level, you know, like, you know, I don't think, you know, and I haven't really like witnessed or seen, you know, I don't really, or played against at least, you know, guys who are like intentionally trying to hurt people. You know, I'd say you kind of see that maybe at lower levels a little bit, but from what like I've experienced, at least, like I haven't really came across guys who, you know, were just going out there to like take my head off. There might have been like the odd few, you know, growing up and stuff, but in the recent time, you know, I haven't been out on the floor and, you know, been like, oh, I'm nervous this guy's gonna, you know, crank me right in the throat or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm still, you
no,
know,
for sure, man.
you still go out there and you're still, you know, you're gonna be like, oh shoot, you know, there's that guy. You know, I might get a chop, but you know, nothing like, oh, I'm gonna get a blind side type of thing.
Well, yeah, personally, from what I see, is I find when there's show, especially in highlights, they'll show the play that, you know, somebody was quote unquote doing something dirty, but they don't show before that. And there's a play with Halifax this year that I remember that you've seen one of the players get chopped from behind, and then there was a Halifax. Some players on there find they just go retaliate without kind of waiting to see where the referees are, maybe,
Yeah.
and just kind of, you know, have a retaliation right in front of the referees, and they end up getting called, and then they're considered quote unquote dirty by some of these fans. So I just kind of wanted to hear a player's opinion on that. So
Yeah,
I
I mean,
appreciate that.
I mean, you know, you gotta have guys who are gonna stick up for certain plays. I mean, if there are guys that are out there that are looking, you know, it's like the saying, you know, if you're looking for trouble, you're probably gonna find it type of thing. But you know, like things do happen in the game. It's a really rough sport, so you know, but I don't think, you know, really anyone intentionally on Halifax, you know, is going out there, you know, with the will to, you know, be like, hey, I'm gonna hurt this guy, and you know, or even in, you know, I haven't really seen that in the NLL at least. You know, I think everyone just wants to compete hard and, you know, get a chance to, you know, get that cup.
No, for sure. And that's what I kind of take it as too. I always give players the benefit of the doubt because I know it's such a high speed and, you know, things happen. And it's just when a game's moving that fast, it's easy to slow it down and like pick apart a player's
Yeah.
the way they reacted. But in the moment, it's hard to kind of make those decisions,
Well,
right?
yeah, of
So,
course.
so how much faster do you find playing with, you know, even at training camp, playing with the NLL guys than these junior? Like, how much of a jump is it to go to that pro from a junior level or even like a senior men's B and stuff?
Yeah, I definitely could feel the jump definitely when I was at camp. It's you know, the ball definitely moves a lot faster. I'll tell you that. You know, it was overall a great experience. You know, it shows you where you need to be at definitely. But yeah, the speed of the game and just, you know, the knowledge. I guess like the knowledge piece of lacrosse is just so much different, and the IQ is just, you know, at a different level, you know, as opposed to junior. And I think, you know, like coaches in junior, yeah, you know, we do a good job, and they do a good job, and there are similarities, but you know, in the moment, you know, it's a little bit of a shock.
So I'm going to be coaching my first U13 team this year. So give me
Well,
some
right
advice
on.
on what I should be doing with these kids. Yeah, yeah. So they didn't have anybody. I told them if they have anybody with more experience, please send it. But they unfortunately, a couple of their coaches had to leave this year and stuff
Oh no.
from the guys that have been doing it the last few seasons. So I'm going to step in, and my son's playing. So I figured
Right on.
I'd step in and jump in.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it should be a great time. You know, young kids, you know, their minds are still able to be molded. But yeah, I'd say, you know, like, you know, push them hard, but you know, I'd also say create like a fun environment kind of at that age. You know what I mean? Like not having like, you know, kids like, you know, just like dreading to come to practice. You know what I mean? But I think like, you know, at that age, you know, it's your first time. You know, I think it should be a good time. You know, have fun and, you know, let the kids, you know, do what they want to do, but also like in a sense, like you got to coach them too. So like if you're looking, what are you looking for? Like drills to do or like just like how to coach?
Well, so last year my kid played U11 right? He's moving up to U13 this year. Last year I found, and I think we're going to get away from this a little bit, there was, probably about 8 kids that were really good, like, solid, understood, threw around the ball, everything, good basic skills. Another handful of kids that were kind of newer and really happy to be there, great to get on there, trying to be out there. And then you had like 4 or 5 kids that really, their parents put them in, they just didn't want to be there kind of deal, right? So how do you go about, I don't find lacrosse as a sport that you should not want to be out there if you don't want to play. What's your advice to kind of get everyone involved in the play, but also, should I be trying to run drills or just focus on basic skills at a U13 level?
I'd say, like, I think, like, yeah, if you were to have a practice, I'd say a portion of that practice, you could work on basic skills. I mean, we still work on basic skills at the junior level, doing ground balls, passing, catching, with no pressure on it. It's just, definitely at a higher velocity than U13, but, you do the basics and then you run drills. And then I think it's all about repetition, right? Like, the more you got the kids doing it and showing up, the more they'll get better at it. And then, say a kid who doesn't like it because he can't throw the ball that well, if he's doing it every so often, might start to enjoy it once he starts to get it. And I haven't really like had the experience of coaching yet too. I can't wait for that day to come too. But if you ask me at a later date when I have coaching, I might have a better answer.
All right, no, man, I appreciate that. Just any advice, I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Mainly, I'm going to make it fun. But honestly, we've got a really good group of guys
It's
that are
awesome.
going to return next year that are moving up with us. And also, I've seen some U13 players play here, and that's kind of what I would like to do, is try to get more exposure to the East Coast, because it's just obviously it's a smaller pool of kids and stuff. There's still some good lacrosse down here for sure. Your goals is it to play in the NLL full time? Is that your goal? And for summer as well, like, do you want to play in the WLA
Yeah,
going
for sure.
forward?
I definitely want to further my career and, definitely get on a spot with Halifax and, playing the NLL and, I going in the WLA draft too soon. I want to see where that goes too. And, play here in the West and, kind of just, do some plumbing and, play WLA. And then also, yeah, do full
Yeah,
time
absolutely.
NLL.
How hard do you find it balancing like work, training, and then personal life?
I think, yeah, I mean, it can get hectic some days, definitely some days, I feel burnt out, but I mean, that's what the weekend's for, recharge. But yeah, I think when I first started working and trying to balance lacrosse, it was pretty hard. It was really hard at the beginning, but once I got like a bit more used to it, and then it just got easier a little bit over time. And I mean, it's still like it's a little bit challenging to balance all of it, but I have a good group of like a support with my family and friends and stuff. So, it's not too bad. I mean, some days you take a slash or a bad hit, and you got to go to work the next day. Yeah, I mean, in that sense, yeah, it kind of sucks, but it's not too bad.
And what year are you in your apprenticeship right now?
I just became a second year, but I've been working for about
Okay.
3 years now. I started like right out of high school, like a couple days after.
Okay, so they're still throwing tools at you and yelling at you all the time still.
Yeah, well, yeah. Not as much as of recently, but yeah, before, yeah, they can.
Dude, yeah, no, man, my dad's a roofer, so I grew up roofing, so I know
Okay.
exactly how it is to be the guy on the bottom running around.
I got
So
rid of the
man, no, that's
greenhouse,
great.
so it's even better. So that's a good.
Right on, dude. Yeah, no. So kind of just give me your goals for the season. Like what obviously Minto Cups
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
cards for you, hopefully.
Yeah, that's definitely the end goal, and I just want to another goal of mine is I just want to be a leader for the Saints, and be one of the leaders on the team, and help the guys out, and that's about it. And then I just would like to get some more, maybe showcase some more skill. That's another goal of mine, to showcase for maybe some WLA teams looking at, and also to get better for Halifax as well. That's another one of my goals.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I think one of the things that a lot of younger players don't realize is, one of the biggest things you can teach yourself, or just kind of push through practicing when you don't want to, or push
Yeah.
through doing anything when you don't want to. Like, what percentage would you say when you get, you pick up a lacrosse stick, what percentage of that do you actually want to be out there practicing? Because, it's a completely different thing for determination and to
Yeah.
actually do it than, actually wanting to do it every day.
Yeah, I think, definitely discipline, beats motivation in my opinion, like you're not going to be motivated every day, to, do certain things, but, I think if you kind of install this discipline where, you have to do these things, you will see eventually a result. It was like me growing up in minor. I'd never picked up a lacrosse stick until I was 10 years old, some lacrosse stick from, Canadian Tire. And, it's just consistency every day, and a little bit too, like you got to have that want, to like, you want to get better. And yeah, but I definitely think discipline is definitely the big factor.
Mentioning equipment, do you find that having high level equipment is a big deal? Obviously, maybe not so when you're starting out, but when you get into the higher levels?
Yeah, I mean now, since I work too, I think like, I mean, why not? I mean, like I'm working, making money. I'm gonna buy nice equipment, treat myself. But I think growing up, I mean, when I was a kid, I always wish I was like, oh, I wish I had, a brand new helmet or the gloves, but it didn't really change. It honestly doesn't change anything growing up. I used to get a lot of my gear from the replay store, like a lot of my gear, but certain things, my parents and me were like, okay, well, we have to get you that brand new, like a helmet. I think, that's got to be in a piece of equipment that's, brand new, or shoes. I think those two pieces of equipment, you usually gotta get those brand new, but everything else, I usually had like used and stuff, and they last a while. So, I don't think this big thing with buying kids, like $350 gloves, maybe, if they're just gonna grow, in a couple years, and that's like in that kind of sense.
Yeah, that's probably an overkill. I just always wonder that because it's something that is kind of talked about, and as a fan, I always think about like it might slightly make a difference if you're using a high quality stick compared to something else, but it's definitely the player behind the stick that
Yeah,
matters the
definitely.
most, right? And all those reps you do.
Yeah, I think if you have a good string job and, like, you work with your stick, it's that. But I think like, yeah, I think the gear aspect, sorry, that's what I was kind of talking about, was like the gear aspect was more kind of like, I don't think it needs to be all the be all end all, but definitely, yeah, well, like you said, playing with maybe a properly strung stick by someone, will definitely, you know, be a benefactor, definitely in your game.
Is there like a setup you like? Like what do you kind of use for like a brand, or is it just kind of whatever you're feeling like that looks cool, or is there some brand that you really like?
Yeah, I do really like Warrior. I mean, I have like I do like the loading shafts too. I really like the D shafts, and I get Travis to string my head. So if you were to ask me what type of pocket I run or whatever, I don't really know. Maybe mid to high, but I just give it to him, and I throw it. Works good, and that's about it. But yeah, I've always kind of been like a big Warrior guy. I'm not really one of those guys to specifically be like, oh, I'm gonna get all Warrior. I just mix and match. You try things out, what feels good, what doesn't, and kind of go from there. But
Well, I guess
Warrior
it's
would probably be my top brand.
yeah, man. Warrior's pretty standard, and like that's what a lot of guys like. That's what my brother-in-law likes. He was born with lacrosse stick in his hand, kind of deal. He's a big Warrior guy. But I guess it comes down to whoever's going to sponsor you is
Yeah, true.
the
I
real
mean,
one you like,
yeah,
right?
whoever's gonna sponsor, yeah, I'll go all the way them, yeah.
That's right, dude. Okay, cool, man. So, just when did you kind of decide that you wanted to be a defenseman? Is that something you kind of knew right away? And what would you also tell kids that were kind of going down that road? Do you think it's better for a young kid, not a young kid, but like, when you hit that before you get into junior, like that minor, maybe that 14, 15 years old, is that when you should really be try to focus on, back end or front end, or should you always just try to be a well-rounded player?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think definitely, yeah, around that age, closer to junior, yeah, you definitely wanna start thinking, um, what gate you wanna go out of, but for me, kinda, I don't know, I'd always been a physical player growing up in minor, and my coaches kind of just groomed me to be a D guy. In the first tryout for Poco Saints, they put me in a D jersey, and that was that. So I just filled into that role of being, it was wanting to be a hard nosed defender, really mean defender. And then I think once I kind of like established that a little bit, and then I really focused on like working on my stick skills, working on my hands, and working on that kind of stuff. So when the chance arises, if I get the opportunity in the shift, get a shot on net, I don't miss the net, or, I always like work with Mills, watch Mills, and, asking him, I'm like, oh, how does this shot look? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you got to play your strength, I think, and I think at that age too, I would have to say just by talking to everybody, I think 14, 15 is kind of the age you pick right before you kind of start looking into, going into junior kind of deal, trying to refine those skills.
Yeah.
And not everyone's going to be a scorer, man. I think that's a big thing. Like I find a lot of the younger kids, they're all focused on scoring goals. And then we had a couple kids we had one kid that was really good transition last year, and one kid that was a really good stay-at-home guy that really helped us win games. So it's not all about scoring goals. Like you obviously need a few to win, but it's more about keeping them out.
Yeah, like I didn't score my first goal until third year junior, and like it wasn't like start of the season. It was like I think later or midway through the season I scored my first goal. So yeah, like almost 3 years without scoring goals. Yeah, you're right. It's not all the be all end all.
Well, and that's actually really kind of nice to hear too, because it gives these players that maybe are looking at a defensive end or the back end of the game, it shows them that there is a path. You don't have to be the top goal scorer to, go to that next level and make the NLL, or go college or whatever
Yeah.
junior A, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like coaches look at everything, man. Like your ability to make plays, I think, in my opinion, is worth more than scoring. The ability, to get loose balls, to, control the ball, or to be able to control the game. I think that's how you allow yourself to get scoring opportunities, when you have these things and work around them.
And so, other than that, I just want to wrap up with, just do you have any advice to any of the younger kids that are trying to get to where you're going to be? Kind of what would you say to them,
I would say,
or even a younger version of yourself?
I would say, just keep the grind up. Like, it's never going to be a perfect day. It's never going to be, it's never going to be what you think it's going to be. But, if you just have that kind of discipline and, kind of just work through it and grind it out, eventually it will work in the end. And, it could be as a long grind. Like, I'm still in my grind, I believe, with work and traveling, playing. But yeah, I think for the younger kids, definitely just, if this is something that you want, you're serious about, it's definitely possible. You just really got to work at it and figure out ways where you can get better or make people better.
No, that's great advice, man. And I really appreciate you jumping on here.
Yeah, and appreciate you
Yeah,
for having
no,
me on here.
absolutely.
I know we had technical difficulty earlier, but glad it worked out.
It's all good, man. And I'll be definitely keeping an eye out, you guys. I'm definitely a Poco fan now with you and Josh being on here, and I'm rooting for you guys hard this year. So I hope you
Thank
guys
you.
can go get that Minto Cup, even though I am an East guy, but that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, for sure, man. Have a good one.
All right, I want to thank Levi for coming on again. It was an amazing interview. I love talking to these high level players, and especially just me as a fan. It's it's nice to give me the time. I really appreciate anybody. I always say this. I really appreciate anybody who gives me the time to come on this podcast because I know everybody's time is super important, and I try to keep that in mind. And I hope that again, I love talking to him, and I hope he loved talking to me. So Levi, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Good luck with everything. I'm sure we're going to see massive things out of Levi coming here. He's got a great attitude. He's got the right mindset, and he's got the talent to back it up. So I'm rooting for them for the Minto. As much as I'm an East Coast guy, I've had two players that are going to be on the team, so they're going to be the team that I'm really rocking with this year for sure. So thank you very much, buddy. All right, so I'm gonna run through each game real fast with you guys, and we'll just go through game by game real quick, and we'll get it done. Kicking off strong. We'll start with Philly versus San Diego. San Diego beating Philadelphia 13-7. Tens was 6,540, so not bad, but it's Friday nights. San Diego something on Friday nights I've heard that they have, and it shows if you look at this season already. But the times they play on Saturday, their attendance is way higher. If we can, let's try to make them on Saturday so we can get that attendance up. But that's still not horrible, to be honest with you. There's teams getting a lot less than that. So right off the bat, I'm just going to pick up a couple key guys. Joey Rez on Philly. 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points. Michael Sowers for 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. Eric Fennell with a goal and 2 assists. And Blaze Riordan with a goal and an assist. As well, Brandon O'Neill got 2 assists. And face-offs on this side were both Columbus. Got absolutely destroyed. 6 out of 23 for a 26 face-off percentage. And then you have Connor Robinson on the other side getting 6 points, 3 goals, 3 assists. Zach Hurier getting 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points. Ben McIntosh, 1 goal, 4 assists. Wesley Berg with 4 assists, so no goals for him. A hat trick out of Trey Leclaire. Dylan Watson got 2 goals, 1 assist. Pat Cavanaugh got 2 goals, 1 assist. So obviously way more scoring, more guys actually contributing on the other side there. And I don't know, it is Philadelphia in all fairness, but San Diego's been getting better. I think it's still a little bit of a mirage maybe. And I'm going to be interested to see how they play this next coming game. But, at the end of the day, they have some key pieces on over there. Origlieri, also, since he's been back, it seems like the team's gotten a lot better. They play it better in front of him. So we'll see what happens when they play an actual top level team. But that Vancouver win was super impressive. And now they've got back-to-back wins with Philly. So yeah, we'll see. Nick Damoud went 40 to 33 saves for a 78.6 save percentage. And then you had Deacon Knott getting 20 shots, 16 saves, and going 80% save percentage. So really not bad. Then you had Origlieri on the other side playing the whole game, 41 shots, 34 saves with an 82.9 save percentage. So these goalies are just still unreal this week or this year. Philadelphia longest drought was 34 minutes, over 34 minutes, and San Diego's was 10. So that's massive. That's also a absolute massive little stat there as well. So there you have it. There's game 1. So game 2, Saskatchewan Rush, an attendance number in Calgary of 13,418. I love to see that. But Calgary is pretty good. They're usually like the second highest for attendance numbers next to Buffalo. So not bad though. I know that a couple games they haven't had great turnouts this year, but hopefully we're starting to see a turnaround. And this game was so entertaining to watch. And even I could tell you when we get to the point where Calgary and Saskatchewan are actually like fairly even, it's going to be really interesting to watch those two play because that is going to be one great rivalry. It's just that Saskatchewan's so much better. Everyone kind of knows what's going to happen going into that, but Calgary fans still show up, right? They still kind of expect their team to win if they're a Calgary fan. I will say that when most of the league pretty much knows they're not going to. So on the Saskatchewan side, you had Austin Shanks getting 9 points, 4 goals, 5 assists. You had Robert Church getting 2 goals, 6 assists. You had Zach Mans getting 4 goals, 3 assists. You had Ryan Keenan getting 2 goals, 5 assists. Brock Haley got a goal and 2 assists. Mike Messenger got a goal and an assist. A couple assists for some other people as well. What the heck happened there? And then on the other side of things, you've got Tanner Cook getting a goal and 4 assists. Tanner Cook getting 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points. Tyler Pace, 4 assists. Brandon Maya, 2 goals. Riley Lowen, a goal and assist. Brett McIntyre with a goal. Hayden Dixon with a goal. And some other guys with some assists there. On the goaltending side, you have Frankie posting a 76.5 save percentage. And you had an Aiden Walsh posting a 77.8 save percentage. Both of these guys, though, did make some big saves. But obviously, like Calgary came out strong. And then after that, it was just kind of all Saskatchewan pretty much. So, I mean, again, it is what it is. Saskatchewan. But Calgary's got to be starting to, really starting to want to try to crave to get a win here. So, all right. So the next game we'll talk about is Georgia versus Halifax. First off, 10,595 fans in Halifax, so I think it was pretty much sold out, or just very, very close. And you had Shane Jackson getting 3 goals, 2 assists. Oh, sorry. Georgia beat Halifax 11-8 or 11-7. And it was the second half that killed them. They only got 1 goal in the second half. You know, they need to find their offense and they need to get going. And so I'm going to go through the stats here. So you got Shane Jackson with 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points, a goal and 4 assists for Brian Cole with 5 points. Nolan Byrne got 4 goals. I'm giving him the rookie of the week this week. I'm going to be just giving him out as I go because I don't want to have to stop and waste time. But anyway, he's going to be our rookie of the week this week. I know there's going to be other guys that are also having big weeks. Nolan Byrne, though, to me, the way he's scoring these goals is just absolutely ridiculous. So I'm giving it to Nolan Byrne. I love this kid. These thoughts with 2 goals, Clark Peterson with a goal and an assist, Noncon Thompson with a goal and an assist, Mike Robinson with the 2 assists, Brandon Bobby with 2 assists, Will McLeod with the assists, a couple other guys with an assist, right? But and then the goaltenders, Brett Dobson, another amazing save percentage, 87 save percentage, 54 shots, 47 saves, absolutely ridiculous. And then you had Warren Hill with 47 shots, 36 saves for 76.6 save percentage. Again, massive. And like I said, this basically was a very close game. The second half, Georgia took over. And it was more even in that fourth quarter, I think, really, because fourth quarter, there's only 1 goal scored in the third. So in that fourth quarter, Georgia really took over. Facts, you can't get complacent like that. Like Halifax is starting, I can see it in their fan base. The panic's starting to set in. I'm completely shocked myself. I thought Halifax was going to be like finishing 14-4 this year. I was really high on Halifax. Clearly, I was wrong. Like there's things that I've been right about. There's things I've been wrong about. Most people in sports. But I do think that Halifax is still going to turn it around. And we'll go over that when we go through the schedule. Next game we'll talk about is Vancouver Warriors versus Rochester. The Vancouver beat the Warriors beat Rochester 16-6. And like I said, we already kind of talked about the goalies topic. Like I said, I think he should be suspended for 3 games. And I don't like the play, but it was a 1-1 game and Vancouver just absolutely dominated. They really did, especially like that third quarter, 7 goals to nothing, 5 goals to 2 in the second, with 3-2 in the first. Like that was a bit, but that second half they really took over. Big game out of Keegan Ball here. 2 goals, 11 assists for 13 points. He's my offensive player of the week. Absolutely massive. Jesse King got 8 points, 5 goals, 3 assists. Curtis Dixon, 4 goals, 4 assists. Adam Charlin-Beatty's 2 goals, 3 assists. Marcus Claridge, 2 goals, 3 assists. Owen Grant, a goal and assist. Connor Fields, a goal and 3 assists. On the other side, sorry. Connor Fields, a goal and 3 assists. Connor Fields, goal and 3 assists, so a little bit lower than his point production's been lately, but that's okay. Everyone's entitled. Ryan Launchberry, a goal and 3 assists. 2 goals and 1 assist for Ryan Smith. 1 goal, 1 assist for Zed Williams. Thomas McConvey has a goal. So again, they just didn't have enough offense out of them. A couple key guys here didn't produce enough, and it cost them. So, and on the back end here, you had Christian Del Bianco with an 88 save percentage, so massive, 50 shots for 44 goal saves. And then you had Riley Hutchcraft with a 65.1 save percentage. Really rough game once he came in for 43 shots, 28 saves. And Rylan Hartley had 4 shots and 3 saves, and it's just stupid ass play, man. That cost him to get ejected. So rightfully so though. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it wasn't the right move to eject him, but just dumbass play on him. Your team needs you. Your team needs to win, and now you're going to be out for a couple games more than likely. So that's disappointing. Okay, so did I go over the attendance on that one? I can't remember. Oh, the attendance for that one too was 49-45. Just to let you know, and that's still a little low, but it's actually moving in the right direction for Rochester compared to their last game anyway. Okay, so we got Ottawa Black Bears versus Toronto Rock, 17-10 for Toronto, 6,900 fans, so just under 7,000. So I'd like to get that up. We somehow have to start selling this because they used to bring in more fans back in the day, so there's no reason that they can't get there. I just think they need to sell the game in Hamilton more. So I don't know what the marketing ploy of that one is, but there's got to be something that we can do. But I mean, 7,000, 6,900 is still not bad in comparison to a lot of their teams. But with that being said, I do think because it's Toronto and it's one of the major markets, one of the most historical franchises, I would think at this point it would be out that level of like Calgary or Buffalo, not where we're at, but they've moved around a lot more and all that stuff. So we have to start selling it as like, this is their home and they're not going anywhere. We're going to play here and let's get the fans in. So if so get out there and support them. I'm coming to the Toronto Buffalo game, so I'm going to do my part. On the Ottawa side, you have Jeff Teague still put up 7 points, 2 goals, 5 assists. Robert Hellier with a goal and 3, Robert Hellier with 3 goals, 3 assists for 6 points. Larson Sundown with 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points. Riley O'Connor with a goal and 3 assists for 4 points. Connor Kiernan for a goal and 2 assists. And then a few other guys with assists as well. On the other assists as well, absolutely killer. Toronto is a great team, and if that's been the missing link for them, is their rookies have really been carrying this team. The veterans finally stepped up. If this can be Toronto, it's scary, okay? Actually, because I forgot to go over the goalie stats too. So Zach Higgins, 66 save percentage, horrible. Tyler Carlson came in for the last little bit or something, So yeah, basically Higgins played most of the game though and just had a rough night. And then Howachuk did honestly hit a 78.7 save percentage, 47 shots, 37 saves. That's honestly good enough to pass most nights. So I think I do personally, I'm personally a Rose fan myself, and I think that Rose being there, that percentage would be upped and it would be better. But Toronto Rock fans seem to love Howachuk and don't like Rose. So who knows? Not all of them, but some of them. Stunna, sorry. I'm just kidding, boys. You know, I love Stunna. Me and him just disagree on the Rose situation, but I respect his decision, or I respect his opinion, because I will say that I'm such a newer fan that I haven't had those heartbreaking moments yet. So, and I'm not a fan of Toronto anyway, specifically. So to me, I can respect it being a Leaf fan, to be honest with you. I hate players that everyone else is like, I don't know how you hate those guys. I'm like, you would understand if you were sitting where I am. So anyways, next game, we got Buffalo versus Colorado. 9,100 in Colorado. Not bad. I do like to see them get over the 10,000 mark, but not bad. Definitely above league average. Colorado beating Buffalo 20-9, and this is without one of their key guys in Will Malcolm. This is without Ryan Lee. Like, this is insane, guys. Jack Hanna is such a steal for them. Like, it made the most sense for that trade for them. Like, it's just okay. So right off the bat, you had Nanticoke getting 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points. Dane Smith getting 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. Ian McKay for 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points as well. Josh Byrne with a goal and 3 assists for 4 points. Ryan Benish with a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. Dylan Robinson with a goal. Then a couple other guys with some assists. And Andrew. And on the other side, you have Andrew Q getting 11 points, 7 goals, 4 assists, 7 goals. That's insane, dude. That's insane. The Socktrick plus one. Then you got Jack Hanna, which I just actually found out. Socktrick originated in Colorado. So Jack Hanna with 2 goals, 7 assists for 9 points. Brendan Saris, 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points. Huge game for him. Great game for him. And honestly, I know I said Nolan Byrne, but he's up there for the running for the Rookie of the Week. But I'm going to say it's still Nolan Byrne. I just think 4 goals, the way he scored them. Dylan McIntosh with 4 goals, 1 assist for 5 points. Jalen Chaster with a goal. Sorry, Jalen Chaster with a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. Thomas Vela with a goal and 2 assists. Tim Edwards with a goal and 2 assists. And Connor Knock with a goal and 2 assists. Gillies had 3 assists as well. Huge for them. Matt Vince had a 65.6 save percentage. He played about a little under half the game. Put Evan Constant. I'm going to butcher this name. Evan Constantopoulos. I'm going to say it like that. I know it's probably not right. I apologize. I'll get that down. Anyway, he had a 65.4 save percentage, but came into a game where you have a flying Colorado offense, maybe the best offense in the league right now, and you that's your first game, so that's pretty rough. And then you had Dylan Ward getting an 81.1 save percentage, he played 3 quarters. Then they gave it out to Nathan Whittam, and he had an 83.3 save percentage. Let's go, Nathan Whittam. I love Nathan Whittam. I think that he's probably the best backup goalie sitting on the bench right now. And this is a lot of people, their argument is, well, he's young, he's not ready to be a starter. I disagree with that. I think that he is ready to be a starter myself. Now, that's something I think he's basically stuck here until there's either an expansion draft or Dylan Ward, rides off into the sunset kind of deal, which who knows how long that'll be. But Dylan Ward, he's an amazing you could argue top 5 goalies of all time, Dylan Ward. And so there's nothing to be, there's enjoy what you are learning from him. But I do think if a team really needed a goalie, obviously Colorado probably not going to want to move Whittam, but he's ready in my opinion. And this is just more like fuel to that fire in my opinion. So I really like Whittam. I liked him in the preseason too. It's not just from this specific game, but I really think he's a great goalie. He's going to be a great future goalie at some point. All right. And finally, the game that actually pissed me off is the first game that I've actually ever been mad about after watching. And you got a sellout in Vegas with almost 6,000 fans. They have a small arena. It was Gretzky jersey giveaway night, which I didn't realize they did until this year. And I think it's amazing. It's like the 4th time they've done it, I guess. Awesome that they got a sellout tonight or this weekend. I love to see that. It's great to see the growth of Las Vegas. I think they have the same issue as they're out gambling money until I win it. Like, it's real. So I don't give a fuck if a team loses. It is what it is. What pissed me off is that, like, they had this in their reach. This is almost, to me, basically a do or die game for them. And and it's a winnable game, as you can see. And they play like this happens, like, it's ridiculous. So you got Dawson Thied getting 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points. Also, Alex Simmons got 7 points, 2 goals, 5 assists. Ty Kurtz got 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. And Dyson Williams got 3 goals, 1 assist for 4 points. And then Clark and Nishimura getting a goal and an assist each. Ethan Walker getting a goal and some guys getting assists as well. And then you have Mitch Jones on the other side getting 9 points, 4 goals, 5 assists. You had Jonathan Donville with 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points. You had Chris Klutz with 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points. You had Kyle Killorn with 3 goals, 2 assists for 5 points. You had Jackson Webster with a goal and 3 assists for 4 points. You had Adam Poltres with 2 goals and 1 assist for 3 points. You had Drew Belgrave with 2 assists and Brendan Goodwin with 2 assists and Connor Kurtz with a goal. So, and then a couple other guys with Tyler L. Hammer Jackson, he got an assist, but he also went 72.7% in the faceoff dot. The fourth, Las Vegas did get them, but they were in striking distance and everything, they actually had the lead. They tied the game. And they were in striking distance, and then it just kind of went downhill from there. And I was pissed off when this first happened. And I don't know if that means I'm going to be becoming an Oshawa fan. They always say Oshawa always holds a special place in my heart because of last season when they almost made the playoffs and they just couldn't pull off that second win in San Diego. And I just love them. I think they're, I love their team. I love Alex Simmons. I love Dyson. I thought Dyson would be having a stronger season. Their games that were even better than that earlier in the season. This would have been a win. I'm not blaming it fully on him, but I am saying, he does need to be better. 63 shots on, 47 saves. I don't know. He needs to be better than that. You got Landon Kells with 72.3 save percentage. Obviously, on the other end as well, needs to be better. Luckily, he has such a juggernaut of offense. If Vegas wants to be serious, they need to go get a goaltender. They don't have their guy right now. Landon Kells, I think at this point, we're about halfway through the season. I think that he's had flashes. He had, one really good game. I think it's time to start. If you want to be a playoff contender and actually, not just get in the playoffs, but actually continue to play and actually try to make a run at it, you're going to have to go get a goaltender for this year. Cause I don't think Kells is your guy. I don't think Burke, I don't want to say Bouquet. I don't want to say, I don't think he's it because I really haven't seen him play enough, but if you look at the numbers, I don't think that he's like a bona fide starter. Now, with goalies, they're weird. You never know what you're going to get out of a goalie. All of a sudden, somebody can just really jump up to that next level. Brett Dobson's a great, example of that this year. So anyway, there you have it, guys. There, Vegas beating Oshawa 16-13 in a do or die game for Oshawa. This has nothing to do with Vegas. I actually really do like Vegas. I just think that Oshawa needed this one more, and they've put themselves in such a hole right now. So, all right, boys. So we're going to run through all the teams here. And I'm just going to go through, we're going to run through all the teams. I'm going to go through each game with you guys, or the remaining schedules. Okay. So we're going to start with Buffalo. Now, they beat Georgia, lost to Halifax, beat Calgary, beat Las Vegas, lost to Rochester, lost to Ottawa, lost to Colorado. They're in a different situation here that they've been in a long time. And I will say, let's give them a little bit of grace. But with that being said, listen to their schedule. So Philadelphia, Halifax, Vancouver, Toronto, Colorado, San Diego, Saskatchewan, Rochester, and Oshawa. Realistically, guys, I'm really only counting about 4 or 5 wins there. So right now, they've got 3 wins plus 4. They're only going to finish with 7 or 8 wins, maybe 9. They might just squeak into the playoffs. I am shocked about this, to be honest with you. I thought that they would have been better than this. I thought that they would have had more guys that were kind of stepping up, but it happens to every great team. Every great team can only be at the top for so long. So next is Calgary. Now, Calgary, this is going to be a shit show, boys. So the only team they've beaten is San Diego. They've lost to Saskatchewan, Toronto, Buffalo, Vancouver, Georgia, and then Saskatchewan again. So their coming games here, they got Ottawa, Philadelphia, Georgia, Halifax, Rochester, Ottawa, Ottawa, Colorado, Las Vegas, Oshawa, and then Colorado. Not looking good. I counted 2 games, maybe. And realistically, depends on how that Oshawa series goes. Calgary might already be out, and Oshawa, if they really need those wins, they're going to have to push through. So that one I wouldn't count as kind of winning there for Calgary. Philadelphia is that's a toss-up game, to be honest with you. That could go either way between Calgary and them. I do think Calgary will probably edge out that win. But there's not, so everyone laughed at me when I made this prediction and when I said they were only going to win one game, and it's going to be funny if that's all they win. But I do think that they'll probably end up with 3 based on just history. But basically not making the playoffs, and okay, so that's crazy. And 3 wins total for them is just insane. So Colorado, on the other hand, so it's crazy that they were at a 1-2. They lost against Philly, which is crazy. They lost against Georgia. Then they beat Rochester, Georgia, Halifax, Oshawa, and Buffalo. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They play Vegas next. They play Toronto twice. Then they play San Diego, Ottawa, Buffalo, Calgary, Las Vegas, Saskatchewan, and Calgary. At least I would say 7-8 wins there. So you're talking they're going to end up. They've already got 6 wins. So they're going to end up at 13. So they're going to end up at 13 wins, roughly, I would say right now, if I had to guess. Because they're going to get at least 7 more wins out of these 10 games that are remaining, in my opinion, when I'm looking at it. And if they could continue to play like they have, which I don't see them falling off the edge of the world, they're pretty scary. They might end up being first overall. That's pretty terrifying. If you're the rest of the league, this is a team. There's 2 teams right now that I'm really going to get on the bandwagon for. I am going to, even if I don't choose a team this year, I will choose a playoff team to run with. I will. So even if I'm not choosing a team to run with, I'm going to choose a playoff team. and it won't be the favorite. So it won't be Saskatchewan. And if Colorado's in first place, I might run with them. Honestly, I don't know yet. We'll see. I'm gonna pick a playoff team, even if I don't have an official team, and I'll probably make a deal like if they win the championship, I'll become their fan. That's probably what I'll do. So anyway, this we got Georgia next. So this is another Colorado and Georgia right now are the two teams that are really pulling me in and Oshawa. I always fucking love Oshawa. I hate Oshawa. Ooh. Okay, I'm so toxic. Oh my god. Okay. Georgia lost to Buffalo game 1. They beat Oshawa, lost to Saskatchewan, beat Colorado, lost Colorado, beat Calgary, beat Toronto, beat Halifax. So they're on a 3-game winning streak. Then you've got Las Vegas, Calgary, Philly again, Vancouver, Halifax, Ottawa, San Diego, and then Rochester back to back. So they're gonna get right now the way they've been playing. If they can continue this and they can just keep upping that offense a little bit, they're gonna get also about 7-8 wins as well here. So what are they at right now? They're at 5 wins. So they're gonna finish with about 12 wins, I would say, roughly. Next we got Halifax. I would say this is honestly might be the biggest disappointment for me. This team I had them at high regard at the beginning of the season, and it hasn't gone. They have not lived up to their potential. I think they know that, and I think we're going to see them come out strong. But I keep saying this every week, and they don't. So starting to slowly lose faith in them a little bit. But I still do think their team on paper is just so good. But I will never understand the Thied trade. I don't get it. It makes no sense. And if they don't bring somebody in big, that GM needs to answer for that at the end of the season. I'm telling you that right now. And I'll be remembering this. Because that's crazy. To give away a guy who just put up 7 points for Oshawa, you could have used that 7 points this last week versus Georgia. Just saying. So they beat Oshawa the opening weekend, Buffalo the second week, lost to Saskatchewan back-to-back games, then beat Ottawa, then lost to Oshawa, Colorado, and Georgia. Crazy. So they have Buffalo this next week, or when they come back. They got Buffalo, San Diego, Calgary, Las Vegas, Toronto, Georgia, Philadelphia, Rochester, Vancouver, and Ottawa. Guys, honestly, I count 6 games there. I do count 6 games. But the next game against Buffalo is super important. I will say that. So like Halifax is going to be. I thought they would have had a home advantage that first round of the playoffs. I would have loved to see it, but that's rough. All right. Okay. So next we have Las Vegas. We have Vancouver. So they lost against Vancouver, beat Ottawa, beat Toronto, lost to Buffalo, lost to Saskatchewan, beat Philly, and beat Oshawa. Las Vegas. Okay, so now they play Georgia. The Vegas has a rough schedule. They play Georgia, play Colorado, play Vegas. They play Georgia, play Colorado, play Vancouver, play Halifax, play Rochester back to back. They play Calgary, they play Colorado, they play Philadelphia, and they play the Seals back to back. Again, for me, I'm gonna count about 5 wins for them, which brings them to 9 wins as well. This is all obviously this is all just me kind of going through it quickly, and this is going to be games that they're going to win, I think, more likely, and then they're going to be games that they, is kind of more of like a toss-up. Now we have Oshawa, my fucking team that I love to hate already. I don't know if I should become a fan of this team. It's feeling pretty Toronto-y right here. And their closest team to the center of Toronto, so I don't know. Anyway, so game 1, you had Toronto Rock. They beat Toronto Rock, but that might have not went their way. Then you have, they lost to Halifax, lost to Georgia, lost to Vancouver, lost to Ottawa, beat Halifax, lost to Saskatchewan, lost to Colorado, lost to Vegas. So they've got Toronto, which is a do-or-die game this is a do-or-die game for Oshawa, an absolute mandatory win. If they don't win this game, pack up the season, boys, it's over. Toronto also needs that win. In Toronto, the way they're playing, it's not great for Oshawa. You have Toronto, San Diego, Ottawa, Philadelphia, Calgary, and then Buffalo. So I do count about 5 wins there, but they're going to have to steal some games because that's only going to bring them to 7 wins on the season, which is better than last season. It is an improvement, but I thought they were going to be better this season. I thought they were going to make the playoffs, and I thought this with Las Vegas win was going to be a win. So they basically have to win. They have 2 wins, and they have 9 games left because they're at their midway point right now. I would say they have to win at least 8 out of 9 of those games to realistically make the playoffs. Maybe 7, but you're going to be squeaking at that point. You have to be a positive record to give yourself that actual shot to make the playoffs. So, that 10-8 is kind of where you want to sit, and it's going to be really hard. They're 2-7 right now. It's not good enough. They're so much better than this, and they've dug themselves just such a hole, just like they did last year, and they didn't learn from last year. So, all right, Ottawa on the other hand. So they lost against San Diego, beat Saskatchewan, lost against Las Vegas, beat Philadelphia, beat Oshawa, lost to Halifax, beat Buffalo, lost to Vancouver, and lost to Toronto. So they play Calgary, then Rochester, then Oshawa, then Colorado, then Calgary again, Vancouver, Georgia, Toronto, and then Halifax again. So I'm counting about 5 wins there for them right now for what they have left, and they've got 4, so they got 9 wins. They'll have 9 wins on the total on the season. Interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I only count 4 or 5 wins there. Maybe 6, 7. If they can win 6, that's kind of where it is. So some of these games, like Rochester's going to be an important win. I don't think they'll have an issue with beating Calgary next week, but this is one of those things that San Diego loss at the beginning of the season is really might come back and bite them in the ass. I said that when they lost it too. That win, I know it was only the first game, but that win is like crucial. Okay, so next we'll do. Okay, so next team we're gonna do is Philadelphia Wings. So they beat Colorado game 1, and that was it. Then Rochester they lost to, Ottawa they lost to, Rochester again, Las Vegas, and then back-to-back games in San Diego. I think they needed to pull one of those off. I think the season's pretty much done for them already. And to be honest, they play Buffalo, Calgary, Saskatchewan, Georgia, Oshawa, Halifax, Toronto, Las Vegas, and Vancouver. What do you guys count there? I don't know. I don't know. I can't give them any games from how they've been playing. They're probably going to get 1 or 2, maybe. Like I'm sure they're going to squeak another 1 or 2 wins out. So I'm going to say they're going to end up with like, that 2. I think this might be the worst team this year that we've seen in a long time. I think they get 2 wins. I think they're going to squeak somewhere. They're going to upset a win here, somewhere along the line here, and ruin someone's day. But I don't think that they are. I'll be surprised to see them get 3 wins at this point. And then you got Rochester. Next, Rochester, the way they lost Vancouver, this is what I'm nervous about when they play super elite level defenses, but we'll see what happens. They beat San Diego, they beat Philly, they lost Colorado, beat Philly again, beat Buffalo, lost to Toronto, and then lost to Vancouver. So then they play Vancouver again. They play Vancouver again, they play Ottawa, they play Saskatchewan, so a very hard road the next 3 games. And then they've got Calgary, Vegas twice, Oshawa, you got Halifax, Buffalo, and then Georgia twice. So I'm only honestly, guys, like, I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up. I could see 5, let's see. I'm only counting 5 wins for them, which will bring them to 9 wins. I could see them maybe getting 10. Okay, so San Diego is next. So San Diego has beat Ottawa, lost to Rochester, lost to Calgary, lost to Toronto. Then they beat Vancouver in back-to-back games in Philly. So again, I think this is a bit of a mirage because their wins, the win against Vancouver was really well done. Again, Ottawa, I'm surprised they did so well, but they were really hot coming out of preseason, and then Rochester really kind of brought them back down to reality. But so here we go. So San Diego. Okay, so we've got Saskatchewan. So they play Saskatchewan, Oshawa, Halifax, Colorado, Vancouver, Saskatchewan, Buffalo, Toronto, Georgia, and Las Vegas back to back. Like, I only personally count 3 wins on that list. Honestly, I don't know how they're at. I think they're going to finish. I'm going to give them 7 wins by the end of the season. I haven't been on high on these guys all season though, and I've tried to really come around, but I just think they're in. I just can't see it. Now, Irregularity has been good. If they can come in, even if they, let's say, lose to Saskatchewan and they beat Oshawa, yeah, I can't see any more than 5 wins for sure. Which, if they get 5 wins, that'll give them 9. That'll give them 9 wins. They would squeak in the playoffs. I personally think they're going to get 3 more wins this season, and that they're going to be sitting at 7 wins. So that's my take on San Diego. You guys know I haven't been high on them all year. We'll see. Like I said, I love when people like teams prove me wrong, so I don't care. But I just can't see it. Saskatchewan. All right, let's just run through this one for fun. So they beat Calgary. The only team they've lost to is Oshawa. They beat Georgia, Halifax twice, Las Vegas, Oshawa again, and then Calgary. So they've got San Diego, they've got Vancouver, they've got Philadelphia, Buffalo, Rochester, San Diego, Toronto, Buffalo, Colorado, and Toronto. So no more than 2 losses there. So if they get 2 more losses, Saskatchewan's going to probably has the offensive edge slightly, but it really just depends on which players get going that night, to be honest with you. So and the defenses I think are so good. I don't even know. I don't even want to give either one. I would maybe give Saskatchewan the edge out on defense maybe, but I'm going to have to say I give Colorado the offensive edge slightly. But again, that can change night to night, game to game. I would really love to see a series with these two, like a 3-game Colorado-Saskatchewan series, but we'll see what happens and how the cards may fall. So like I said, that's what they're looking at. So next we got Toronto Rock. Toronto is, so they lost to Oshawa, which was honestly, they probably should have won that game. That CJ Kurz goal, I still will probably stand that probably should have been a goal. Calgary, they won, then they lost to Las Vegas, beat San Diego, beat Rochester, lost to Georgia, beat Ottawa. They've got Oshawa next. I think Toronto is going to win that game, but I'm hoping Oshawa wins that game just for their Oshawa. But I think Toronto, if they can keep playing like this, Toronto is going to be a scary team. So you got Oshawa, you got back-to-back games of Colorado. You got Buffalo, which that's another one that I hope Toronto wins. I think they are going to win that one. You got Vancouver, then you got Halifax, then you got Saskatchewan, Philadelphia, San Diego, Ottawa, and then Saskatchewan to finish the thing. It's a bumpy ride to the end for Toronto. They do have they have Colorado twice, they have Saskatchewan twice. Like they have a hard run. They've got Vancouver in there as well. Buffalo, but Buffalo's probably on the downside of things. So I'm gonna say I got it about 5 wins to be kind of conservative there. Because I think they are going to probably maybe get 1 more off one of these top heavy teams. They'll probably end up going to steal a win because Toronto's feisty like that. And to be honest with you, they're going to be sitting at like a 9 or 10. I would say 9 or 10. Let me just count it one more time just to see if I can get. Okay, so Oshman. Yeah, I think it might be able to six. It's 6. So they're going to finish about 9-10 wins, I would say. Toronto State, they should make the playoffs, I'm thinking. And then finally, we got Vancouver. If you would ask anybody who was the best team in the league start of the season, it would have been Vancouver. They're still super solid. They're definitely one of the better teams in the league. You got they lost against Colorado opening night, which again doesn't seem like so much of a fluke now. Then you got Las Vegas, you got Oshawa, Calgary, you got San Diego. You got San Diego pulling the robbery. You got Ottawa. They beat Ottawa, and then they beat Rochester. The remaining games, they have Rochester. They have, which I mean, that's gonna be a banger. Back another after embarrassing Rochester like they just did. You know Rochester's gonna want to come in and smash them, but I don't think that's gonna happen at home. So you got Rochester, you got Saskatchewan, you got Buffalo, you got Las Vegas, you got San Diego, you got Toronto, you got Georgia, you got Ottawa, you got Buffalo, you got Halifax in the wings. So I count like 8 wins there. 8 wins, 8 wins conservative, 7 wins conservatively. And I would say, so they're going to finish about 12, 13 wins. All right. So there you have it, guys. There's your team schedules, man. There's the remainder of schedules. All right. So let's do a power rankings. So we got to go, we'll do the Anything Lacrosse power rankings here real quick. So Saskatchewan's holding that podium until they get beat again. They're not leaving it. Colorado's number 2. Vancouver's number 3 for sure. I got to probably put Georgia at number 4. I think if you're talking right now, what teams are toughest to play against, Georgia's up there. I'm going to put Toronto at number 5. Toronto is, I think, with their veterans going, and like I said, with their veterans and rookies both going, they're easily a terrifying team. Probably put Rochester at number 6. As much as they're still kind of, they've a little bit of a slide, I'd still think they, against non-absolute elite defenses, they're going to light you up. That's the best way I can put it. Number 7, I got to put Buffalo at number 7, just because they're Buffalo at number 7 to me is just the respect level right now still. Until I can't leave them out of my top 8. They're 3-peat champions, and they still, Dane Smith and Josh Bird can legit pick up that team and carry them. And Matt Vince just has to be a little bit better, and then they're going to start winning games. And then number 8, it's crazy, but I don't think you can't have Vegas in there. Like Vegas, the way they won, very strong, and I think Vegas, if they can get their goaltending situation, they're going to be a scary, scary, scary team. So okay, no, that's good. Okay. So there you have it. There's my power rankings for the week. Disagree with me if you want. I personally just can't put San Diego in the top 8. After 2 back-to-back wins against Rochester, that doesn't really... Sorry, after 2 back-to-back wins against Philadelphia, it just doesn't do anything for me in order to say you're this elite team, right? So just my 2 cents, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so finally, I'm just going to run through the standings real quick with you guys. So standings real quick, you have Saskatchewan at a 7-1 with number 1, Colorado number 2, Vancouver number 3, Georgia number 4, Vegas number 5, Toronto number 6, Rochester number 7, and San Diego number 8, but and Ottawa number 9 with a negative. Top 8 guys, the top 8 teams all have positive win differentials. Anybody below 8 has a negative. And how much am I think it's going to change the list right now? I don't think San Diego gets in there. Halifax, I still think Halifax gets in there. Oshawa is going to have one hell of a run to make the playoffs. Philly's done. Calgary's done. Buffalo, if they miss playoffs, it's not even at the end of the world for them. It is what it is. Like, they've three-peated. There's nothing anybody can say to them. Even if they don't make the NLL playoffs this year, it's not the end of the world. Not saying they're not going to, but it's going to be a tight one. It's going to be tight. I will say that. And out of the other teams, who's going to miss? If I had to pick another team, San Diego, Rochester right now. I think Ottawa gets in there. I don't know, because I think Ottawa is actually going to be a bubble team too. And I really want, like I said, the whole season, I said if a one prediction could come true, I hope that it's Ottawa makes playoffs. Out of everything else that I've said, that's my number one thing that's my one prediction that I want for the growth of the sport, even because Jeff Teet's there and he needs to be in the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, I think they need to trade Jeff Teet away, because it's not fair to this kid. It's not. You need to get him in the playoffs. And for the league, it's not fair to the league. In order to grow, we need him in the playoffs. So do something, figure it out, but get Jeff Teet in the playoffs. So hopefully he makes it in there. And then finally, I'm going to give you my predictions for next week, and then we are out of here. Second time recording this. I love it. I definitely, it took me longer than I thought again, but it is what it is. I don't want to skimp out as much as I said I was going to go through this flick. I really didn't. We got, so next week, you have all the games on February 7th, which is, I think, Saturday. I'm assuming Saturday. No Friday night games this week, which is disappointing. I don't like that. I wish they were spaced out, because you get the more days, the more exposure, but it is what it is. Scheduling issues, probably. So you have Oshawa versus Toronto. I'm going to take Toronto on this one. I think Toronto gets this, but I'm praying that Oshawa takes this. I really hope Oshawa can take this win, but I do think Toronto, the way they've been firing, it just makes sense. You have Philadelphia versus Buffalo. Buffalo's going to win this game. There's no way they're going to lose 4 in a row. Buffalo's going in and smashing Philly. It's going to happen. And if Buffalo loses against Philly, panic mode's fucking smashed. You got Calgary playing Ottawa. Ottawa takes this game. Calgary's not making an upset this week. I think that Ottawa really needs to win, and especially the way I just talked about, they really need to get this win. It's important for them. You got Las Vegas versus You got Las Vegas versus Georgia. I think Georgia takes this. I think Georgia right now, that back end is just way too strong, and they seem to even have their offense going as well. Then you've got Rochester versus Vancouver. I'm going to take Vancouver on this one. Rochester, like I said, I think Rochester does fine against really good teams, just elite level defenses. They don't. Christian is absolutely having an unreal season. Him and Dobson are just battling right now. And Vancouver, their offense seems to finally get going. So with all of that combined, and with Hartley obviously probably going to miss this next game, I think Vancouver takes it all day. And then finally, we have Saskatchewan versus San Diego. This is a no-brainer to me. Saskatchewan wins. If San Diego beats Saskatchewan, I will call them the real deal, though. I will say that. That's my promise to San Diego. They are the real deal if they win against Vancouver. That's 1,000%. Okay, so there you guys have it. There's the episode. Again, I apologize. This is late because, again, my mic got screwed up, so I recorded a 2-hour podcast without recording. So anyway, lots of stuff in this interview, jam-packed. I did cut the games out a little bit. I usually go deeper into the games, but it is what it is, boys. I just couldn't go through all that monotony again. Next week, we'll be back right to regular scheduled. I'm putting my field podcast out on Thursday. This is going to be dropping. I'm going to drop it probably Wednesday morning at this point now, and it'll be out first thing Wednesday morning. Apologize. I just, again, technical issues. Not a techie, and I do my best, boys. So I'm doing my best, and I'll get this out for you guys. Love you guys. And as always, my name is Jacob McDonald. I'm Anything Lacrosse, and this game that never sits still. Talk to you guys later. Go smash all the subscribe buttons and like all that stuff, all the socials, and join the Discord. Talk to you guys later.